All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be counting down my top 10 fantasy novels where I think the writing is just over the top, beautiful, where the author, I can tell, has taken time to make sure that the prose, the way the sentences flow, the word choices in the paragraphs and the chapters are just spot on and beautiful and carefully chosen. I love writing like that. Even in my own books, I tried my best to make sure that I was doing this very same type of writing. I like flowery writing. I like purple prose. I like writing that's lyrical and poetic and just sings to you as you read it, when you can just sink into a book and love it just merely for the fact that you are enjoying the way the writer put the words together on the page. That's what this list is about. And it's fantasy novels. And we're going to get to it. Let's just start doing it. I think I described what we're doing here pretty well. Top 10. Now, I'm going to have 3 honorable mentions. And, I imagine every book on my list, even my honorable mentions, people are going to be scratching their head and being like, is that really beautiful prose, Durfee, that author's doing? And to me it is. To me it is. To me, I find value in it. And if we pan through my library, I've got a library. I've probably got 6,000 or 7,000 books in my library. So I have and this is just my upstairs library. I've got one downstairs too. And so I have a vast, vast volume of books to choose from, and it was hard for me to narrow it down to my top. But I did have 3 honorable mentions that I wanted to mention. And this is where you're going to question the whole list to begin with. Like, why do you think that's beautiful writing? But I do. But I'm going to be my first honorable mention is going to be Game of Thrones with George R.R. Martin. And this is not just, it's every book in the Game of Thrones. There are some really great passages of great, beautiful writing in these books, even though it's grim and brutal. It's more of a brutalist, beautiful writing style, but it certainly gets the job done. You certainly feel like you're in a medieval setting here with every word that George R.R. Martin used. So that's my first honorable mention. My second honorable mention is going to be The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. This guy's writing is absolutely gorgeous. It's fun to read. The dialogue is fun to read. It's witty. It's fast-paced, but at the same time, you can tell this guy really knows how to write great fantasy prose. So that's my second honorable mention. My third honorable mention is another sort of brutalist, grimdark piece of fiction that just has some of the most poetic passages in any book or any series of books. And that's Deadhouse Gates. And not only just Deadhouse Gates, which is my favorite Malazan book, but the entire 10-book Malazan series could just fit right into this with it. So Steven Erikson, he made the he should be in the top 10, really. A lot of you would probably think he should be in the top 10, but wait until you see my actual top 10. So, and this one, number 10, goes back to my youth. And this is a series of books that I was reading when I was really young, when I first kind of started to notice authors had different writing styles a little bit. I was pretty young, like 12 or 13. But I am going to say my top 10 most beautifully written fantasy book is the entire Thomas Covenant 6-book series by Stephen Donaldson. comes in at number 10. Just this is a I hate to say almost Tolkien-esque writing style, because it's not quite. I mean, Stephen Donaldson has his own kind of thing going here, but I love the way this is written, and one of the reasons it made my top 10, not necessarily because the writing is any more beautiful or poetic than the other books I just showed you, but it's just because it's more of a nostalgia pick for me. It is one of the, like I said, the first series that I sort of noticed the author was doing something different with his writing than other fantasy authors that I was reading at the time. So Stephen Donaldson comes in at number 10. What Pray Tell comes in at number 9. Now this is Janny Wirtz, Curse of the Mistwrath. And I am going to just show you the first book in the series. This is her, gosh, what is the name of the series that she's done here? I don't know what it is, but I should know. It's right here. The Wars of Light and Shadow, Volume 1. I think there's 15 or so books. I'm looking up on my shelf there. I do have, we talked about Stephen Donaldson, but we got all the Stephen Donaldson books right there. But we've also got all the Janny Wirtz books. The Wars of Light and Shadow right up there. So Janny Wirtz is on almost a level all of her own, where I can tell she's purposefully written these books in a style that's meant to be sort of over the top, medieval, over the top, poetic, over the top, sort of full of mysticism and magic. And the sentence structures are unique. Every sentence, it seems like she's poured over each detail of the sentence, and these books are huge. So that's a lot of time and effort put in. And so that's why she's in my top 10, just because of, and if you ever have read her, you know what I'm talking about. These are not books that you just breeze through. These are books that you slow down, take your time, and then just enjoy the way that it's put together. So that is number 9. Number 8 is old school classic fantasy written in the 60s and 70s, but that would be Michael Moorcock's Elric of Melniboné, and the entire Elric saga. I mean, this is an omnibus of, I think, the first 3 or 4 books. But there's a lot of Michael Moorcock Elric books out there, and you could categorize all of them into the same, like, I know I said top 10 most beautifully written fantasy books. Some of them I show you are going to be standalones, but most of them are just going to be parts of series or full series, or just, I might just say, here's a book by an author that just does it awesome. And this is, Michael Moorcock is one of them. I mean, Michael Moorcock just has an old style of writing that just, I don't think people do anymore. And I wish there was more of it. It's just kind of, the language is archaic. The way he puts things together, is the way he constructs his stories. They're kind of like modern, but yet not. And there's some beautifully written sentences and parts of this book where words are placed together that don't belong together, but when you put them together, you don't think they belong together, but then you read them, and because they're opposites, they work fantastically. I don't know. It's just, I don't know if I'm explaining myself, but I think you all totally understood it. Okay, number 7. I mean, this lady writes as masterfully as Frank Herbert wrote Dune. I often compare C.S. Friedman's writing to Frank Herbert's Dune. If you like Dune and the way that that's written, which I think is written beautifully, you will love anything C.S. Friedman writes. And I don't even know if this is technically considered a fantasy series. I mean, certainly the covers by Michael Whelan make it appear like it's a fantasy series. But I mean, these are so well written. She's such a good writer. And it's just, I mean, it's amazing to read her books. And I don't know, I compare her to Frank Herbert But this is the, what is this? The Black Sun Rising. This is her Cold Fire trilogy. She's got about 3 or 4 other trilogies that I also own. I won't show you those though. But okay, so let's get to another kind of old classic fantasy author, and that is Gene Wolfe. Gene Wolfe belongs on any best written fantasy books list. I mean, he just belongs on it, and he comes in at number 6 here. Not only does Gene Wolfe belong on any just best written fantasy books or fantasy writers, but probably just literary geniuses of all time. So this is The Shadow of the Torturer, book number 1 in the Book of the New Sun. And you could include the other 4 books in this also. And if you've read Gene Wolfe, you know what I'm talking about. He belongs on the list. Great writer, great stuff. Now this is this is an author that maybe it's not the story so much that I love, but I read this author just because the writing is, maybe of all the people that I'm mentioning, the most gorgeous of all the beautiful. Like, this guy's writing isn't just beautiful, it's literally gorgeous. And like I was saying with some of these other authors, how I think every single word and every single sentence was agonized over, like, is this the right word? Is this the right word that's going to give it the flow that I want, and the feeling I want, and the atmosphere I want? Patrick Rothfuss, that's who I'm talking about. Name of the Wind, Wise Man's Fear. These books, I mean, I don't know if the story itself is one of my favorites, but I will tell you, just writing style, he is one of my favorites, just as a beautiful writer. And I've already kind of described why I like him. Next, we have, and I think everybody's going to agree with this one. Everybody's going to agree with this one. And I'm just going to hold up the first book in the series, because there's a lot of books in this series, and this writer has written a lot of stuff. But that's Robin Hobb. Assassin's Apprentice, and everything else that she's done, which I have down on my shelf here, and I'm not going to show them to you. But everything that Robin Hobb does is, it's beyond beautiful. It's beyond gorgeous. It's beyond everything I said about Patrick Rothfuss. This goes above and beyond all of that. Just every book she has, she spends so much detail in the characterizations. This is beautiful writing, not because not only is the prose just spot on perfection, but the way she develops her characters is spot on perfection. And that's the beauty in her writing. This writer, Robin Hobb, has done such great character work, and it's tied into the way she writes and the detail she puts into it. You just feel like you know everything about these characters, and there's a lot of books in this series. So let's go to, so book number 3. These are I had to hold up my 2 favorites from this author. But Guy Gavriel Kay, I mean, whenever I read Guy Gavriel Kay, I'll be honest, I just want to quit my job as an author, because I'm trying to strive for what Guy Gavriel Kay does, and I'll never reach it. I'll never reach the lofty heights of Guy Gavriel Kay. His stuff is, it's what every fantasy author aspires to do. And so I've held up my 2 favorites. He does mostly standalones, and I would recommend anything of his to have beautiful writing in it. But these are the 2, Tigana and the Lions of Alrasan, that really stood out to me the most as the best. And then at number 2, we're going to go with one of my favorite writers of all time, Tad Williams. Book number 1 is The Dragonbone Chair. Start with this. This is the book, you know, when I held up the Stephen Donaldson books and said when I was a young kid, this is the first time I really noticed that writers had a style. Well, when I was thinking about becoming a writer myself, it was Tad Williams' writing that really inspired me to level up what I was doing with my own stuff. And just when I read Tad Williams, I was like, okay, Stephen Donaldson was one thing, But Tad Williams is really, really making me notice how awesome writing can be. And I just worshipped everything that he did on any book that he ever did, but especially in Dragonbone Chair. It was just the most eye-opening, one of the most eye-opening moments in my life, in my own journey as an author, with my own books. And I will say, Tad Williams himself gave me a blurb here. I don't know if you can see it. Gave me a blurb for my own books. So it's cool to have your own literary heroes read your books and think that you did all right. And Tad Williams is my second most favorite of all time beautiful writer of fantasy. And number one most beautiful fantasy novel ever written, prose wise, story wise, epic wise, everything wise, is, of course, J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. It's I don't know. I mean, it's biblical, and it's biblical, and it's a majesty. It's like fantasy scripture. You know, the King James version of the Bible is poetic beyond measure. Tolkien, for fantasy, is poetic beyond measure. A lot of people are like, man, Tolkien, man, I'd rather just watch the movies. The books are a dry slog. Maybe you're the dry slog. I don't know. Some people say that. Most people, though, that read fantasy love these. In fact, I would say if you don't love these, you don't like fantasy. That's just me. I'm judgmental like that. But anyway, I just, everything that I said about these other books that I put over here, I mean, need I say more? Everything I said about those books, times 10, and wrapped in Lord of the Rings, and there you have the most beautiful written fantasy novel of all time. And I do consider it, even though it's always like a trilogy, it is one book. So, there you go. So that's my list. If you guys have read anything out there that you think has got some literary merit just in the writing style, drop a hint in the comments. And if you disagree with my list or anything on my list, please just take me to task. Tell me what a stupid idiot I am. I don't care. I can handle it. I won't cry. I promise.